Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video we are going to see LINQ's count method in action, okay? So as you remember from our previous example, the theoretical one, we used two different use cases. One use case where we just said if you pass and use the count method without any parameters, that would just count the number of elements in a collection. And the second example that we saw was you can actually pass a predicate into the count method, and that would do some kind of filtering, okay? And that will affect the count, okay? So let's start with the first example, which is calling the count method without the predicate, okay? Without any parameters, okay? So let's create a count variable, and here I will use our collections static class and just invoke the simple collection, okay? So this is in this case ordered, but the fact that it's ordered doesn't matter. But in this case, the collection similar to the one that we saw on the theoretical example, okay? And so if I just invoke the count method itself without any parameters, the expectation is that this will return the number of elements in the collection, okay? And so if I console writeLine now, if we console writeLine this, let's see what we have, okay? So I can just $sign and number of elements with count, and I can just pass here the variable that we just created called count, okay? And so the expectation is that this will print 5, okay? And now when we run this, we will actually see that this is the case, okay? So when I pass just the count method without any parameters, this will return 5, 5 being the number of elements in the collection. So if I come to the collection and now all of a sudden add here 9, and I run this again, you should expect the count to be 6. Okay? There's another element in the collection. Okay. Let's revert what we just did and go back here to the count static class that we are executing our example on. And so just to recap, as you just saw, if you just invoke the count method without any parameters, that will return the number of elements in the collection. But you can also pass a predicate into count, and that will impact the result of count. So let's see how this goes, okay? So let me just put here in brackets, just simple example. By simple, I mean no predicate. And here, let me just add predicate, okay? So I can pass, as I said, a predicate into the count method. And I will tell now the count method, hey, count only the number that is bigger than 3. Okay, numbers, just filter the numbers where the number is bigger than 3. Okay. In our collection here, how many numbers do we have that are bigger than 3? We have 4 and 5. So we are expecting that this execution will return 2. Okay, number of elements that pass the predicate. Okay, so now when I run this, we should see that the number of elements that pass the predicate are 2, because the predicate just states the following: only count the numbers that are bigger than 3. And according to our simple collection, so we are executing the count method on this collection, please only count the numbers that are bigger than 3. So in this case, when the count method executes, it just checks, okay, only 4 and 5 pass the predicate, therefore they are the only ones that obey this predicate, okay? And so, yeah, so the other example that we saw was an example where you can pass a predicate, but no elements match the predicate. So in some occasions, an exception is thrown, but in the case of a count method, that doesn't exist. So if I pass a predicate and no elements obey the predicate, 0 will be returned. Okay, no exception will be thrown. Let's see this in action. Okay, so let me just copy paste what we have here and just call this count2. And let me just put here predicate 2. And we are going to tell the count method count only the elements that are bigger than 10. In this case, we have no elements that are bigger than 10. And so, as I said previously, in the count method, if you don't have any element that obeys the predicate, no exception will be thrown, but rather 0 will be returned. Okay. And now, when we run this, you actually see that in this second predicate, which is the number is bigger than 10, no exception is thrown, but rather 0 is returned. Okay. And yeah, I mean, even if the collection is empty, okay, you can execute the count method and still no exceptions will be thrown. Okay, so that's one of the interesting things about the count method. Okay, so hopefully you got something out of this video about the count method. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.